I think self-healing is what we think will sort the problem for us. But not everybody has the guidance to actually get to that stage. When we know that out of the 100, one is going to win, how can we not take care of the rest of the 99? Education is different. 100 can write an exam and all 100 can get 100% mark. But sport, in whatever math you do, gets only one winner there. The understanding of people of sport is very important. Parents can't be unrealistic because that's where one of the biggest abuses happen. Lack of understanding of parents, lack of understanding of society. If you've lost, it's almost like you've done a crime.
Welcome to Grounded. I'm Gargi Raut, and today I have the honor of speaking to someone who truly needs no introduction. A visionary, a mentor, and the driving force behind India's badminton revolution. He's recently brought up a conversation that needed happening, and it sparked widespread debates across the country. But with me today is Dronacharya of Indian badminton, Pullela Gopichand. Gopi sir, it's always such a pleasure to speak to you. But before we get into the don't pick up sport unless you're rich conversation that has been talked about many times, last time we spoke, we dwelled deeper into it. But this time around, I want to speak about your journey. And, growing up for you, you've made it big. But growing up, I'm sure there were some financial and structural challenges. Did it at ever point feel like, it was very, very difficult?
Well, growing up, winning in sport, making this a career was not so much of an option. It was more like I love to play more than I love to study. So it was my parents' way of making me study that they gave me the carrot of the play. So till I was in 12th class, I was still a maths, physics and a chemistry student. So engineering was an option which I had, or they had thought I had. And my only reason for continuing at that point of time, or the challenge which I had, was, will I be able to get a decent job? And the day I finished my engineering exam and I failed, I got a year to play badminton, and in that year I got a job in Tata Steel, and that was the beginning of my badminton career. Financial struggles, yes, of course. I think sounds strange that all the eggs at home I ate, all the protein I got, and I don't think my parents had any kind of extra spending, because all of it was spent on me. To the point, I remember when we played the All England in 94 and 95, I had to take a loan of 20,000. My college paid 5,000. My sponsor gave me 10,000. So we had actually 15,000 in the bank because my mom took a loan of 10 and my college gave me 5. And then we reached the quarterfinals of the French Open at the end, and we ran out of money. So I had my coach Puri sir, he put us in the friend of a company owner's house to stay back the last 2 days because we had ran out of money. So it was tough times. There was food at Gurudwaras, especially in England and in Hong Kong. We would always find a Gurudwara to help our food, and money was very, very less. So we had our struggles, but family sacrificed everything. I remember my mom would have to literally walk from Hyderabad to Abbots to get a racket strung in the sun to save that 1 rupee of the bus fare. So I wouldn't say we were literally in poverty, but if there was a rupee to be spent anywhere, it was spent on my badminton. And that's literally the story we have.
That's sad, because when you were playing versus now, it's still the same story for athletes.
No, I think
most athletes.
No, I think things are far better now.
Better?
Of course, I think things are far better. From an inroads perspective, I think if you look at it, access to infrastructure, it's better. The schemes, whether it's Khelo India or whether it's Top Scheme or whether it's the NGOs of Go Sports, OGQs, or the corporates of the Tatas, Reliances, the Kotaks, they've done very well to support sports. So you've got a lot of sponsorship going in. And if you're referring to my statement in some sense as a backlog, I think it's the exit which is the challenge now, because the entry has actually been sorted out to a large extent from a mid-range. I'm not saying from a very grassroots, I'm not talking. But if you are at the decently light level, then you kind of get to a Khelo India scheme. You get to a TOPS development scheme or a TOPS scheme, or any of these NGOs are sorting out the entry part. The exit is what is my concern, which I've raised in the last few days.
Well, when we talk about the junior level, I think at the top, it's pretty sorted when we talk about sponsorships. But you spoke about these struggles with the athletes when we talk about education. Why do you think India is not going for a D1 system? Because at one side, funnily enough, we're saying, in schools, in colleges, sports is not important enough. No one really takes it seriously. But on the other hand, when you talk about what you brought up, that you don't have an exit route, you athletes are not skilled enough, they don't have the education. Where is the disconnect?
I think we've grown very fast in those terms because the last few years is where the real growth of Indian sport has been. Today, there are athletes who are inspiring players to take up sport. There are parents who are aspirational. They want their kids to do well in sport. So the number of people who have picked up badminton rackets after Rio, the number of people who have picked up a shooting gun after Manu is one, or the number of people in the akhadas of Haryana doing wrestling has grown drastically from what it used to be maybe 10 years ago. So I think today we are looking at a whole lot of people starting it off. The education system working in silos, because the Department of Education and the Department of Sport are two different departments. Yeah. And one is looking at education, the other looking at sport. I think we need to marry both of them. We need to have educated sports persons and students who are actually in sport. So that is something which has not been thought of in the past. We're just thinking of it now. I've raised it up, and I've got a good kind of a response from the government at various levels, and I'm hoping that this anomaly is sorted out.
Talking about mental health a little bit, do you think, as the national badminton coach, do you think there is enough support there?
I think we need a lot of interventions. We need lots of understanding of the nature of sport. The very nature of sport is that majority of them will fail. If you look at winning as a primary category or a criteria, you will realize that maybe badminton is still a little better example. But if you were to pick, say, something like a wrestling or a boxing, then if Mary Kom is playing or Sushil is played for 20 years, it literally means that in that weight category, nobody other than him or her has represented the country in those 20 years. So what happens to them? So they are inspired to play. If it's 1,000 people playing or 10,000 or a lakh of people playing, the slot at the Olympics is only one. So what happens to the rest of them? Whether it is having leagues which actually move larger populations, whether it's job opportunities which are given, whether it's jobs in the sporting field, whether it's jobs outside the sporting field, skilling them, educating them, and putting them back on track to live a life. Because when you retire in most careers, you're retiring for life. You have probably 60 to 80 years, you're 20 years left. But here you're retiring at 25 or 30, and then you have another 50 years to live. So that cannot happen if you're not skilled or educated. So I'm talking about a very fundamental, basic thing which is needed in the ecosystem.
I'm going to the junior level a little bit, because I feel like that transition from under 19 to under 23 to senior across sports, not just badminton, where I feel like where the most failures happen, where a lot of athletes crash out. That's where I crashed out. So I know, and it is probably a time where most of them don't even have the kind of support they need or don't even have a good coach. And, it just doesn't work. So when you talk about mental health support or financial support or coaching support, how does that change?
I think self-healing is what we think will sort the problem for us. But not everybody has the wherewithal or the motivation or the guidance to actually get to that stage.
Yes.
So for me, I think systemically we need to address this issue, because when we know that out of the 100, one is going to win, how can we not take care of the rest of the 99? Education is different. We can all write an exam, 100 can write an exam, and all 100 can get 100% mark. But sport, in whatever math you do, gets only one winner there. So it's a fundamental gap. So for me, the understanding of people of sport is very important. Parents can't be unrealistic, because that's where one of the biggest abuses happen. Lack of understanding of parents, lack of understanding of society. Because if you've lost, it's almost like you've done a crime. It's just the nature of sport. You could be very good, you could be very hardworking, you could be gritty, determined, all of those very good words we can use. But at the end of the day, you could still fail, which is the nature of sport, which
Absolutely.
is an opening balance.
Yeah.
You probably genetics, you could just be unlucky with an injury. I think many of those factors, to say that the winner takes all, the loser is a criminal in some sense, and that's the way we are looking at it at the moment. In the sense, I remember when I lost and somebody would ask me, what happened? It's like, what do you mean, what happened? I lost.
Yeah.
And this is what I had in my mind. And now I can relate to it, because when I'm asking a kid, why did you lose? It's almost a very defensive kind of a thing. Whereas it's okay to lose. And this I learned much later in my playing career when I went to Germany. I was like, I lost, and after every match I lost, I would cry. And I was crying, and then like, you're not God, you're going to lose. You're a sports person, it's okay to lose. It's okay to lose. It is natural that every national champion at the junior level will not make it. 85% of the junior national champions will not make it to the senior team. That's the nature. So we are having unrealistic expectations out of our children. And that is the primary reason for the mental health which is getting disturbed. So it's very important that we understand that it is normal to fail. It is okay to fail. Your failure doesn't mean failure in that sense. Your failure is actually okay. If we going in with that concept and understanding of sport, then we can easily convert these superb human beings who've played to a very light level. Already you are a junior national champion, that's what you're talking about. These are like one in the country.
Yeah.
So how do we transfer that energies into something else which can make them successful for the rest of their life? And that's the very objective of me bringing this conversation out in the open.
A lack of structured mentorship.
Correct.
Right? And as a coach, now at your academy, I'm sure you've built up a very good structure, but as a coach, your personal vision, what is it?
I think for all of us, and for me as badminton player and coach, we have in the last few years, whether it's men's singles, women's singles, men's doubles, women's doubles, mixed doubles, we've actually produced, in 4 of those events, we've produced players in the top 10, number ones in the world champions, Olympic medalists. We have the potential to be the best in the world. We have the numbers also to be the best in the world, as in from an under 13 level, if you were to go look at the kind of talent, there's immense amount of talent. So for me, if we do not end up being top of the world, head and shoulders above the rest of the world, I think we are doing injustice and disservice to the talent available in our country. I know it's not possible by me alone, but the system as a whole in the country needs to evolve, and we have the possibilities, and we've shown in the past that this is definitely possible.
And finally, one piece of advice that you'd like to give young athletes pursuing sports, resources or not, what is one piece of advice you'd want to give?
I think when you're on the journey, you have to trust, you have to believe, you have to know literally that you are going to be the next big one. You are the one who's going to crack to the highest level in the world. Having said that, it's not for the athlete to have a plan B. It's for us as a society, as coaches, as parents, as people in the ecosystem to provide a safety net for them if they fail.
Well, thank you so much, Gopi sir. This was an enlightening conversation. And thank you everyone for watching. We'll be back.